Fatima, 48, woke craving more than chamomile's calm. Paris mornings had blurred into market strolls and polite nods, but today, her bones hummed for chaos. That chipped teacup by her sink mocked routine. Why not brew rebellion instead? Across town, a tea-tasting meetup promised strangers, stories, maybe courage. She smirked. Migrant life wasn't just survival, it demanded spice. Stepping out, she ignored jitters, clutched her bag like a lifeline. Pavement pulsed with possibility. Who knew? Maybe stress relief. Fatima's fingers trembled around her favorite teacup, cracked rim, smuggled from Damascus in a suitcase padded with her mother's embroidered scarves. Parisian drizzle blurred her window view, but not gnawing in her chest. 48, she'd mastered survival, yet belonging still slipped through her grasp like steam from a too-hot brew. Market strolls became her rebellion. Between cheese vendors hollering "Allez, madame!" and flower stalls bursting with peonies, she practiced French with apricot sellers, tripping over gendered nouns like a teenager in clunky heels. Laughter followed her, not mocking, but warm, laced with same bemused shrug. Paris reserved for tourists feeding pigeons. Then, a flyer fluttered onto her path, the Et Partage. Tea tasting for strangers. Her gut clenched. What if her accent curdled vibes? But chamomile had never judged her broken nights or way her hands still reached for spices no French supermarket stocked. Stepping into that sunlit cafe felt like pouring boiling water over dried petals, hesitant, then inevitable. Strangers became confidants over steeped leaves. A retired bookseller winked as Fatima described saffron-infused infusions from home. Stress floats away faster with company, she murmured, swirling her cup. Crack against her lip tasted like courage. By sunset, her laughter tangled with others, light as sugar dissolving in warmth. Paris hadn't adopted her yet, but maybe, just maybe, she'd steeped long enough to bloom where she'd landed. Fatima's craving led her past her usual market stroll, where vendors hawked figs like gossip, their sweetness clinging to humid air. 48, she'd learned Parisian rhythms, sidestepping dog leashes, decoding metro maps, but today her feet veered toward a chalkboard sign, the Et Tranquillite. A tea shop's steamed windows promised more than caffeine. Inside, mismatched cups clinked as a woman with silver braids waved her over. Sit before your knees protest, she chuckled, sliding a chamomile blend across counter. First sip unspooled tension she hadn't named. Not just work permit stress or missing her sister's laughter, but weight of being new in a city allergic to slow. Braided woman, Clemence, as it turned out, nudged a honey jar closer. This one's for courage. By sunset, she found herself signed up for a tea-tasting meetup, clutching a leaf-strewn pamphlet like a lifeline. Weeks later, her hands trembled steeping oolong for strangers. A Breton widow praised her instinct for timing, a Tunisian grad student laughed when she fumbled French word for infusion. Their shared sips became a language smoother than her broken conjugations. Even her missteps had vibes, like times she mistook peppermint for verbena, sparking a debate on memory's flavors. Clemence winked. Mistakes brew better stories. Fatima began hosting pop-up tastings in her tiny flat, laying out embroidered napkins from home. Each cup carried dual warmth, chamomile's comfort, yes, but also boldness of claiming space. One evening, she caught her reflection in a steaming teapot, laugh lines deepened, shoulders loose. Not a migrant drowning in paperwork, but a woman who'd steeped herself into something new. Paris hadn't softened. But her hands, once stiff with loneliness, now moved with ease of leaves unfurling in hot water. Fatima's fingers traced chipped porcelain edges of her favorite teacup, its cracks mapping years of hurried mornings and sleepless nights. Parisian drizzle blurred her window, but her mind stayed fixed on that craving, something beyond Chamomile's fleeting comfort. Market stalls would wait. Today demanded action, not another aimless stroll past overpriced figs and judgmental cheesemongers. She'd stumbled upon a flyer for a tea tasting in Belleville, where mint met mischief and strangers became temporary allies. Signing up felt reckless 48, like wearing heels on cobblestones. But her stress had outgrown quiet sips in solitude. That teacup wasn't just a vessel, it was a battleground. Each steep a stubborn push against doubt whispering she didn't belong. Belleville's streets hummed with Congolese rumba and Fujianese haggling. Tea shop, tucked between a faux joint and a Tunisian bakery, smelled like bergamot and second chances. Host, a spry Senegalese woman with silver braids, handed out tasting notes like secret codes. Fatima smirked descriptors like sunlit hay and whispered rebellion. Pretentious? Maybe. But as warmth spread through her ribs with each sip, she caught herself leaning in, not just to flavors but to stories. A Moroccan grandmother swore by rose petals for grief. A Vietnamese student laughed about smuggling oolong in socks. By third cup, Fatima's shoulders unclenched. Here, her accent wasn't a hurdle but a badge. When host announced a vibes check, she surprised herself by raising a hand. Chamomile's fine, she admitted, but I'm tired of treating stress like it's a guest I have to entertain. Laughter rippled through room. Someone shouted, "Evict that freeloader!" Walking home, Fatima clutched her teacup, now a trophy, not a crutch. Paris still demanded perfect subjunctive verbs and navigating bakery queues without offending anyone. But tonight, her kettle whistled a different tune. She steeped chamomile with cardamom, a rogue twist. Let doubt choke on that. Fatima's fingers trembled around her chipped teacup, steam curling like Parisian alley mist. 48 years old, 3 languages under her belt, yet her voice still hid behind polite nods. But today, Chamomile's honeyed warmth wasn't enough. Market stalls buzzed with morning chatter, their colors bleeding into her thoughts. Why not turn this quiet ritual into something louder? She lunged. Before doubt could whisper, she slapped a neon poster on a cheese vendor's crate. Stress? Spill it over tea. Below, her number scrawled in wobbly Sharpie. A passing teenager snorted. Who meets strangers for tea? She shot back. Who doesn't? Her pulse hammered, but she grinned. Tiny rebellion, giant leap. By sundown, her phone blinked with replies. 7 women, 7 stories, all tangled in immigrant knots. She booked a cramped salon de shoved tables into a circle, and, panic, realized she'd never hosted anything. What if they hated her brew? What if they laughed? She nearly bolted when door chimed. First arrival, sharp-eyed Claudette, 62, arms crossed. This better not be some therapy trap, creator shoved a teacup her. Nope. Just vibes. Claudette sipped, scowled, then, sighed. Tastes like my grandmother's garden. Others trickled in, a Tunisian baker, a Ukrainian pianist, all clutching mugs like lifelines. Laughter unspooled, sticky with shared relief. Then twist, a blogger snapped their huddle, posted it with Paris sips back. By dawn, image blazed across feeds. Requests poured in, can men come? What about matcha? Fatima's balcony became a tea-stained HQ. Even Claudette returned, hauling a suitcase of rare bergamot. "Keep your day job," she muttered, but her smirk betrayed her. Fatima stirred a fresh pot, watching steam rise. No more shrinking. No more maybe. That chipped cup. Now a baton. Paris had asked for her silence, she'd answered with a kettle's roar. Fatima, 48, craved more than Chamomile's fleeting calm, Paris demanded grit. Mornings began with market strolls, fingers brushing lavender sachets, inhaling courage between cheese stalls. Her odd habit? Whispering affirmations to wilting herbs, as if roots understood struggle. Then came Teacup. Not just any, a chipped thrift store find, its floral cracks mirroring her journey. She filled it daily, steam curling like unanswered prayers. But sipping alone felt hollow. So she baked orange cardamom biscuits, slightly burnt, always, pinned flyers in Arabic script, and hosted the end toy in her tiny flat. Strangers arrived, Syrian grad students, Tunisian seamstresses, even a Breton widow clutching loneliness like a purse. Fatima guided hands to warm clay cups, showing how chamomile blooms soften in hot water. "We're like this," she'd muse, watching petals unfurl. Laughter tangled with steam, recipes swapped like secrets. Widow brought honey from her village. A teen rapped about exile over clinking spoons. Months later, that chipped cup sat center stage a multicultural fair, Fatima grinning as neighbors queued for her stress-slaying blend. She'd turned dread into a ritual, isolation into a chorus. Paris still rushed, but her kitchen hummed, a sanctuary where steam carried stories. Steep your struggles. Share brew. Word count, 1,800 chars, why this works, symbols growth, Teacup evolves from solitary comfort to communal anchor. Action-driven, hosting, guiding, baking, no passive victimhood. Cultural texture, markets, Arabic flyers, cardamom biscuits. Quirky humor, whispering to herbs, burnt biscuits. CTA punch, mirrors Mel Robbins' urgency plus This American Life's warmth. High RPM vibes, universal yet specific, avoiding /clutter. Slang tweak, stress slaying, nods to Gen X wit without alienating boomers. Pro tip, for audio, emphasize sibilance in steam-carried stories, ASMR-ish allure.